Hi everybody, I'm going back to cold wax painting today. I haven't done one in a while and I'm really antsy to get back in it. I have a linen canvas board, 12 by 16. I've just put white gesso on it. It's still wet, and I am going to base coat this with transparent yellow iron oxide. It's a DecoArt Media Fluid acrylic. I just like to have a color underneath my cold wax so that when I scrape back, I'm not going back to stark white. So I don't need full coverage. I'm kind of liking what this is doing in the in the gesso here. So I'm just going to get this on and dry it, and then I will be back and we will do a cold wax painting on top of it. Okay, everything is prepared. I have taped my board to a painting board that was covered with freezer wrap. I have freezer wrap underneath. Two advantages: the freezer wrap underneath is just to protect my work surface. I can wipe it off easily with a baby wipe and get rid of anything I don't want to be there. The reason I covered the board is to keep the back of my piece clean, and then the board is taped to my painting surface is taped to the board, and I taped it down evenly so that when I pull the tape off, I'm going to have a border of this color around the edges. So that's my surface. It doesn't all completely fit in frame, but you can see almost all of it. Then I have my Gamblin cold wax medium that I have mixed with several colors of oil paint. I have turquoise phthalo, Mars yellow, Indian red, purple red, Payne's gray, and black and white. And this is black, and this is zinc white, which is, it's kind of a dull white. You mix the cold wax into the oil paint, no more than a 50-50 ratio. You can go more paint to wax, but you don't want more than 50% wax. It will make the paint duller and more translucent. So I like to start just with mark making. So I am going to just take, I have a little piece of charcoal, and I'm just going to make some random marks. This is all just in my background. And then I have a Stabilo All pencil. It's a water-soluble pencil, but I can get some finer lines. Some of these lines will show and others won't, but it's just how I like to start. And then I have some R&F oil sticks. I have a black, and the oil sticks will mix with the oil paint. And then I have, I'm not sure what color red this is. It's a rusty red. It's long since lost its label, so. Okay, so now I don't have a blank surface to worry about, oh my gosh, where to start, what to do. It just makes it a lot easier to get going for me anyways. I do that a lot in all of my work, really. So I am just going to start. I have a bowl scraper. I have my palette knives. I may grab some other tools as I go. I do want to get a lot of texture in this piece, so I have some specialty tools that I will use, and I will stop and explain those as we go along, but I'm going to start to get some layers of color on here. And I'm just going to pull through that RNF oil stick and just kind of smear it out, spread it out before I get going, so I don't have a big buildup of oil. And you can see it's picking up the charcoal as I spread it across, and just kind of dulling down the surface color. I know it looks like a hot mess, but hey, we are just getting started. Keep paper towels handy because you'll want to wipe off your bowl scraper often. Sometimes I will have a second piece of oil paper to the left of me that I can just wipe my bowl scraper off periodically, and I'll have the start of another painting. So I am going to start with this rusty red color and just get it on the surface. Now I can leave it heavier in some spots. Something's dragging on there, I can hear it. Yeah, there's something in the paint or on my scraper. Wipe it off and see if we can get rid of it. So depending on how hard I scrape, I can leave it thicker and more opaque in some places and just go really thin in others. Then I'm going to layer on some of the Mars yellow. And this is just an initial layer. I'm not even thinking about composition too much at this point, just color. So that's a good coverage for the initial layer. I'm really liking the turquoise phthalo in there. Now I'm just going to grab my palette knife, and I'm just going to do some asemic writing, just kind of scribble writing into it. Some of it may end up showing, but this is such an early stage that most of it will probably be covered up. But just like to stop every once in a while and get some texture in the layers, because you never know what might show through. So for some really cool texture, I have just a piece of tissue paper that I scrunched up and then opened back up just to get the wrinkles in there. And I'm just going to very lightly lay it on the surface and barely touch it with my brayer. And when I lift it, you can see it lifts just the paint in those wrinkly areas and leaves behind some really awesome texture. And then what I can do is I have mostly red on the back of that paper. I can put it onto a lighter area and brayer over it and actually transfer some of the red paint into a lighter area, as you see right there on top of the white. Pretty cool, huh? So now I am going to go for my gamsol that I have in this little oiler boiler bottle. It just has a needle applicator, and I'm just putting drops of gamsol onto the surface of the paint, and then I will wait for a few seconds and take my bowl scraper, and when I scrape it back, hopefully I will get some dots that scrape back to the initial color that I put on the board. And sometimes this works really well and sometimes not so well. It's all a matter of timing, and I try to do it like maybe wait 20 to 25 seconds before I scrape it off. And like I say, sometimes I get spots and sometimes I don't. Okay, time's up. Now I'm very lightly scraping across the top of the painting to pick up the gamsol. It does smear the paint a little bit, but you can see I am getting some pretty cool little spots there where I dropped the gamsol on the surface. Being careful to wipe the gamsol off of the bowl scraper periodically so that I'm not reapplying it to the surface of the painting. And I'm going to go back in with the tissue paper again because I lost most of the texture that I put in there previously when I scraped through the gamsol. So we'll just go again, lay down a little more texture in certain areas. So easy to do that, and it looks so cool. Just such organic marks that it leaves. I really like it a lot. Now we'll start another layer of cold wax and oil paint. So I'll speed you back up again. I'm going to use this Fauxy Roller from Artistic Painting Studios. The pattern is Ovalicious. I've not used this I have not used this with cold wax before, so I'm not sure what it's going to do, but we're going to see. Oh, that's kind of cool. I'm getting some pattern there. Where the paint is the wettest. Slipped a little there at the bottom. Let's see if I can line it back up here. Go up this way. Yeah, it's sliding in that wet wax, but I'm kind of liking it. I should have gone this way. With less pressure. And I didn't tell you, but 90% of the oil paint that I'm using is water mixable oil. So it will clean up with soap and water. I'm just knocking the peaks down. That roller picked the paint up and left kind of more texture than I wanted. I'm just really going to smooth this out. I may go again with that in another layer. After this layer sets up, I can go with another layer on top of it, and I think we'll be more successful with that roller because I'll have a dry base. Okay, you just saw I had gamsol in a spray bottle, and I like halfway pulled the trigger, so I got some drips, but they're smaller than the drips I got off the end of the oiler boiler. And then I picked up my skewer, and I'm just making some marks, scraping back to the history layer underneath. And again, it may show, it may not, because I'm going to scrape through that gamsol, so the marks I made with the skewer may disappear. I have a section from a 6-pack of some sort of drink, and I'm just pressing some circular impressions into the paint. And again, it's pretty wet with the gamsol, so those will probably disappear. That's a better thing to do later on when I'm closer to the end layers. But I just do it all as I go along because sometimes bits and pieces still show up, and I'm really going for a lot of texture on this piece. And scraping through the gamsol again, and I got some pretty cool marks this time. I was really happy with what the gamsol did. I waited just a little bit longer than I did the last time just because these layers are so wet. And just making sure I have all the gamsol off the surface of the painting and also wiping it off the bowl scraper so I'm not reapplying it. And we've got some pretty cool speckly marks. Now I have a little piece of punchinella sequin waste. It's just plastic with holes in it. And I'm just kind of using it as a reverse stencil and scraping the paint out from beneath it just to create some more texture, some little holes, if you will. And then just kind of softening the edges so that I don't have a rectangular mark around the holes. And then I'll scrape over them too, just to kind of soften them back a little bit. But I'm just putting it down here and there and scraping through, removing the paint from underneath it. So I'm really liking where this is sitting right now. I like the composition and the colors. So I have this antique, it's a wood graining tool, and I'm just running it through the paint here and there just to create some more texture and some more marks. And it's just lifting the paint, and I can just get rid of the excess that's left on the roller. I'm just rolling it off onto the paper to my left there, and get some really cool marks. So I'm trying again with that ovalicious, but it's sliding too much. The oil and wax are just a little bit too slippery for that roller to roll. If I push it harder, it just slides worse. So I will save that for another layer, and I'll try it again because I'm sure it will work. I just need a more firm base of oil and wax underneath it. So I'm just repairing that a little bit and softening back those marks from the other roller. Okay, I just shook very small drops of gamsol everywhere. As long as you don't squeeze that oiler boiler bottle, you can just get it to drip out of the end. So you need to wait. There's no magic number. I wish there was. I find 20 seconds usually works pretty good, but this paint is quite wet, so I may leave it just a few seconds longer than that. I'm just going to wipe some of this, whoops, up if I can. Am I back in frame? Pretty much, huh? I'm just going to wipe some of this off the tape, because that's contributing to my messy problem underneath my board. I'm almost out of most of the paint I mixed up, except for that purpley red, which I didn't care for, so I'm not going to use that. I still have some black on my palette. Let's see if we can get some spots here. Oh, I need a clean paper towel. Yeah, I didn't really want to disturb it that much. It was a little too wet, the paint was. We have some spots. I just didn't want to create those lines. You have to go pretty softly when you pick up the gamsol. The other thing I did was I used this antique wood graining tool to make some marks, and I can probably go back in there. I don't want it like everywhere, but I just wanted a few marks here and there. I think they're kind of cool. It worked better. It is, I think it's like maybe a linoleum over wood. It's really, really old, but it's very hard. Where the Fauxy Roller, I think, is a little maybe too soft. Like I said, I think it will work once this layer is dry and then I put the next layer on. I'm kind of liking this though, so I'm not sure I'm going to put a whole lot more over it. I do think maybe it needs some white, but I'm not sure about that either. I don't have any more of that blue. I kind of lost it. I liked it in there. I may mix up some more of that. I like that. Now it's kind of only in one spot. I'm going to leave this here and let it dry overnight, and then I can come back and add more layers and do more on top of it. Right now it's just a little too wet to do a whole lot more with. I may put some tissue texture in there though. It's just crumpled up tissue paper and a brayer, and you just go very softly on top of that paper. And then what's on here, I can transfer if I want to. That was darker. I can transfer that onto a lighter area if I want. Once the paper's full of paint, you're not going to get much. You really want, like there, where the paper's drier. Okay, I'm going to leave this for now. I think we've added all that it wants for right now. So I hope you enjoyed watching the start of this painting. We did try the Fauxy Roller. It worked a little bit. It's going to take figuring out the timing for that, I think. Seems like there was something else I wanted to show you. I do have this. I'm not sure what we get with this. Oh, it does work pretty good. Some kind of random marks here, lines. Which may or may not stay depending on the next layers, but I really do need this to dry now. I like where it's headed. I think it needs some light maybe. I don't know. I will decide. I'll show you when it's done in another video. I probably won't come back and do any more of this on camera, but I just thought I would share the start of a painting with you. So thanks for being here. If you liked watching, give it a thumbs up. Share it out to your Facebook groups. I know there are some cold wax Facebook groups out there. And if you haven't subscribed, I would appreciate it if you did that. I try to do videos 2 to 3 times a week. Always something different, acrylic painting or art journaling or watercolor or something. So try to do something for everybody that might interest you all. I am thinking about maybe doing some live streams in the near future. And whatever I create on camera during the live, I will give away at the end of the stream, because my studio is getting chock full of finished goods and they're not going anywhere. So I'm going to start giving stuff away. So watch for that. I'll put it on my community tab when I'm ready to start that. It won't be real soon, but pretty soon. I'm heading toward my 4,000 watch hours so that I can get monetized. So sharing this and getting other people to watch would be greatly appreciated. So thanks for being here. I'll see you next time. And in the meantime, go make some art. Bye.